Serbia is a charming country located in Central Europe. It's the homeland of the Serbian people. Over different chapters of history, this country has shaped its own identity. That's Serbia, the motherland of the Serbs. The country has no coastline. It's surrounded on all sides by Balkan and other European countries. To the north are Hungary, Croatia, and Romania. Bosnia and Herzegovina lie to the west, and to the south are Montenegro and Bulgaria. Right down south is Kosovo. However, Serbia does not officially recognize Kosovo as an independent state. This country, covering an area of 88,500 square kilometers, is pretty significant in Europe and the Balkans. Its capital and most well-known city is Belgrade. Right now, Serbia's population is about 7 million, with nearly 2 million people living just in Belgrade. Before talking about the modern lifestyle in Belgrade, it's important to take a quick look at Serbia's history. For centuries, the Serbian people have been directly involved in many important and complex historical events. It's believed that the Serbs date back to around the 7th century. They moved into the area that's now Serbia and were part of the South Slavic group. The name Yugoslavia actually meant the land of the South Slavs, which Serbia was a part of until recently. From the 7th to the 14th century, the Serbs set up their own states and principalities. It was during this time they converted to Christianity. In the 14th century, they had to face off against the Ottoman Empire, which led to ongoing conflicts. One of the biggest was the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, where both sides suffered heavy losses. In the battle, both Serbian Prince Lazar and Ottoman Sultan Murad I were killed. According to popular stories, Sultan Murad was killed when, after the battle ended, he was inspecting the battlefield and was struck by a Serbian soldier. In 1521, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent captured Belgrade, and the Serbian principalities were fully absorbed into the Ottoman Empire. In 1878, through the Treaty of Berlin, Serbia gained full independence and re-established its rule. In the 20th century, Serbia went through even more turmoil. The Balkan Wars and later World War I completely reshaped the whole region. In 1914, a young Serbian guy named Gavrilo Princip assassinated the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. This assassination played a key role in starting World War I. It's said that over 1 million Serbs lost their lives in that war. After the war, the South Slavic people came together and formed the state of Yugoslavia. Later, in 2003, the country's name changed to Serbia, and Montenegro declared independence in 2006 and split off. With that, the last remnants of Yugoslavia disappeared and Serbia re-emerged as an independent country. In 2008, things got complicated again when Kosovo, where ethnic Albanians are the majority, declared independence. Even today, Serbia doesn't officially recognize Kosovo as a sovereign state, and NATO troops are stationed along the border between the two regions. Right now, on Serbia's national flag, there are 3 horizontal stripes in red, blue, and white known as the Pan-Slavic colors. Among Slavic nations, these colors generally have similar meanings. Red symbolizes courage and sacrifice, blue stands for freedom and loyalty, and white represents peace and dignity. On the left side of the flag, a red triangle bears Serbia's national emblem with a royal crown. This emblem was also used in the historic Serbian kingdoms. By including it in the modern flag, Serbia shows its connection to its heritage and tradition. The power gained from the past is highlighted here. When you travel to Serbia, the first thing you'll notice is that the official alphabet is Cyrillic. Most Slavic countries use the Cyrillic script, and a unique feature of it is that each sound has a specific letter. You read exactly how it's written. However, the Serbian language can also be written in the Latin alphabet. That's why in Belgrade, you'll see some signs in Latin letters and others in Serbian Cyrillic. Although the alphabet might seem unfamiliar, If you learn a few Serbian words, it's easy to connect warmly with people. You can say hello in Serbian like this: Zdravo. If you want to ask how someone is doing, you say kako si. Yes is da and no is ne. And if you ever say volim te to someone, it means I love you. Looking at the currency, Serbia isn't part of the European Union and doesn't use the euro. They have their own currency called the Serbian dinar. They even have a 2000 dinar note, which is worth about 17 euros right now. You can tell that pretty easily compared to the euro. The dinar is relatively weak. On the 100 dinar note, you'll see a familiar face, a famous scientist, Nikola Tesla. He's such a big national figure in Serbia that Belgrade's main airport is named after him. Not only that, there's even a museum dedicated entirely to his life and work. When you enter the center of Belgrade, the first place you'd likely end up at is Knez Mihailova Street. It's the busiest pedestrian street in the city, with a lively atmosphere, a unique sense of grandeur and tradition. This street is named after Prince Mihailo III of Serbia. On both sides of the road, you'll find row after row of international brand stores where people from all walks of life, from the elite and tourists to everyday citizens, spend hours walking, shopping, and hanging out. Tall buildings surround the area, most painted in soft cream and off-white shades. Many of these buildings are over 100 years old, and their architectural style gives the street a timeless beauty. Elegance. Surprisingly, there isn't much difference between the early 20th century scenes and the current moments of Mihai Lover. The buildings have been carefully preserved for centuries. At one time, this street wasn't just for pedestrians. Cars used to run through here. People even brought livestock onto the street. Over time, it has completely turned into a space open only to pedestrians. Even back then, it was the city's most lively spot where people shopped and socialized. People used to gather here, and that tradition still stands strong today. Nowadays, this street is filled with buskers performing. In Belgrade, musicians can freely play their instruments and depend on voluntary donations from passers-by. Some play the piano, others the guitar, and some just sing. Almost any time of the day, you'll find new performers popping up along different parts of the street. Along with the soulful tunes, you'll notice small mobile popcorn stands right in the middle of the street. It really feels like the whole place comes alive. He really loves popcorn. That's because you can spot these kinds of carts all around the city. Belgrade's architecture is definitely impressive and perfect for snapping photos, but the tram lines and bus corridors running along the street sometimes get in the way of fully enjoying that beauty. When you try to take pictures of buildings or the sky from across the street, you notice tons of electric wires stretched overhead, cluttering the view. Because of this web of wires, many pedestrian crossings in the city are built underground instead of bridges above. But the good news is, these underpasses are usually clean, modern, and well-maintained. The transportation system has its perks too. Belgrade is a relatively small and compact city, covering about 360 square kilometers. So getting from one place to another is super easy. Another great thing is that there's free public transport from the airport straight to the city center. You can hop on a red bus anywhere in the city, get in through the middle door, and travel without paying. Just because the city is small, taking a taxi can often be a bad decision. The taxi fares here are generally pretty high. For example, from the airport to the city center, the fare for 3 passengers can be around 50 euros, even though the distance is only 14 kilometers. That seems quite expensive. A way better option is to take the Red City bus number 72, waiting just outside the airport, which takes you to the city center for free. Similarly, from the Zeleni Vinaz stop, you can take this bus again. You can get back to the airport. If you look at the cars driving around the city streets, you might get a bit of a global vibe. Even in many less developed countries, you often see plenty of luxury cars in the capital. But in Belgrade, most personal cars are pretty average. Serbia doesn't have its own modern, internationally recognized car brand. All in all, The city carries its own identity through its heritage, culture, and simple way of life. Back in the Yugoslav era, cars like the zinc-coated Yugo were made right here in the country. It used to be common and widely used. But in 2008, local production stopped and manufacturing shifted to Fiat. That's when models like the Fiat 500 started being made. Nowadays, some buses used in public transport are also made by this brand, and Fiat holds a significant share in Serbia's automobile market. The brand you see the most on the streets of Belgrade is Škoda. Since Serbia is close to the Czech Republic and Czech-made cars are popular among locals, this brand is quite common. It's not really a big deal. Belgrade doesn't have a metro system when it comes to public transport infrastructure. Honestly, the city is smaller than most people think. The transport mainly depends on city buses, express bus lines, and the white taxis. In fact, lots of places in the city are so close that you can easily get around on foot. There's a river called Sava that splits the city. Most people living in Belgrade or visiting for a short time spend most of their time on the south side of the river. Unless you have a special reason, there's rarely a need to go to the north side. As a result, public transport isn't really needed that much. The northern side is mostly quiet and less busy. This area is known as New Belgrade. People still live in residential blocks from the Yugoslav era here. It's also where major global companies like Microsoft and Huawei have their headquarters, along with factories, sports complexes, and the airport. In a way, Belgrade is practically split into two parts. The southern side is lively, full of tourists, cafes, interesting architecture, hotels, museums, and parks. On the other hand, the northern side the area is pretty calm, more industrial and business focused. On both sides of the Sava River, it feels like two different cities facing each other. Serbia seems to have a strong relationship with China too. On the north side of the river, you can see lots of Chinese signs and flags. Around the airport, there are Chinese restaurants, hotels, and entertainment spots. Another interesting thing is the use of drinking water. In Belgrade, people confidently drink water straight from the public fountains on the streets. Locals say the water from these fountains is safe, especially on the north side. In Zrenjanin, aside from the city, there aren't any major issues with water quality anywhere else in Serbia. But the street fountains are one thing. It's best not to drink water straight from apartment or hotel taps. The bottled water sold in supermarkets is mediocre in quality. It really depends on what kind of water you're used to back home. The supermarket water in Serbia might seem lower quality by comparison. If you want really good water, it's best to get it at cafes where they serve it in glass bottles, since the mineral content is better. The taste is definitely good. When you walk into a supermarket and check the prices, they usually seem pretty reasonable. One of the most common chains is Maxi, where locals do most of their daily shopping. Last year, Serbia had an annual inflation rate close to 12%, but compared to many other European countries, prices here are still relatively low. For example, a liter of organic milk costs about 200 dinars. Since €1 is roughly equal to 120 dinars, you can get good quality milk for about €1.5. Packaged sausage, cold cuts like salami cost about €2. Fresh meat usually goes for around €1.5 to €2. Alcohol is especially affordable. A regular can of beer costs around 200 dinars, which is about €1.5. If you want good quality pasta, a pack usually costs between €1 and €2. In short, many daily essentials in Serbia are priced between €1 and €2. Another small but notable point is that internet in Serbia is abbreviated as. It's also used as S instead of SR, which you usually see on products or road signs. And if you're looking for fresher and more affordable fruits and veggies, walking south from the tourist center toward the local street markets is a better option. These markets still operate in a very traditional way. The sellers arrange their stalls neatly, displaying fresh goods and sell directly to the customers. You can see the influence of the classic market system common in the Balkan region and many European countries here, in the relatively quiet back streets of the city. When you walk the streets, you don't really notice any major safety concerns, but you might see some low-quality graffiti on a few building walls, which does spoil the look of certain areas a bit. Despite that, overall, Belgrade's cleanliness department is doing a pretty good job. Now, if you're wondering what to eat in Serbia or Belgrade, the simple answer is meat. You can easily get large portions of meat at affordable prices here. A popular dish all across the Balkans is cevapi, which is also widely available here. It's eaten. Each piece costs about 80 dinars. Playing 5 games costs around 400 dinars total, which is roughly 3.5 euros, enough for a full meal. A typical restaurant burger made with beef, known locally as pleskavica, costs about 3.5 euros and tastes pretty great. Another popular option is grilled chicken steak, usually served with lots of onions and spicy sauce. It costs around 530 dinars or about 2.5 euros if it's meat. People tend to be really into pastries or bakery items, but it's good to know that Serbians especially prefer rich breakfast, often with oily, tasty foods. One important cultural thing in Serbia is that nothing is served for free in restaurants or cafes. Every sauce, every slice of bread has to be ordered separately and you have to pay for it. There's no custom of giving extra freebies here. Everything that comes to the table has its own price. The food is a bit oily. Even though it's simple, the servers are really skilled when it comes to flavor. People usually drink yogurt with flour-based and butter-rich dishes. This isn't just popular in Turkey or Greece, but all across the Balkans. When you go to a high-end bakery, one thing to remember is to keep your receipt. That's because you need a code printed on it to use the restroom. Without that code, the door won't open. This system is designed so that no one can use the restroom without buying something, and it actually works quite well. Starting January 1st, 2025, Serbia has raised the minimum wage from 270 dinars per hour to 308 dinars, which is about 3.7 euros. This means someone earning minimum wage will make around 540 euros a month. Back in March 2024, the average monthly net income was about 860 euros. While this isn't enough for a really high standard of living, compared to other Balkan countries, Serbian citizens are in a somewhat better position. If you're coming to the country to work and just starting out, if you're not sure what to do, working as a motorcycle or bike courier could be an option. Online shopping is pretty advanced in Serbia, and when you walk around the streets, you'll often see couriers zipping by on bikes or scooters. Two big companies here are Volt and Glovo, both well known across Europe. Volt is a Finnish company, while Glovo is Spanish-owned. Belgrade also hosts the headquarters of several betting and gaming companies, and you can spot their branches all over the city. Couriers typically earn about 600 dinars an hour, and their monthly income can range from around 82,000 to 171,000 dinars. If you work consistently and steadily, it's possible to make roughly 1,000 euros net per month. But the reality is, no matter which country you come from, earning high wages in Serbia isn't easy. Making good money is relatively tough, and the tax rates are higher compared to many neighboring countries. In Belgrade, anyone working in a legally registered job pays income tax, city-based pension contributions, and extra social fund taxes. All in all, working people have to pay about 30% of their income in taxes. If someone sets up a limited company, things get even tougher. On top of that 30%, there's corporate tax pushing the total tax rate to nearly 48%. So almost half of what you earn goes straight to the government's coffers. Just walking into residential buildings in Belgrade, you can tell many were built during the Yugoslav era. The country isn't prone to major earthquakes, and seismic activity is relatively low. That's why these old buildings are still structurally strong today. The area has managed to survive. In fact, since 1893, the strongest earthquakes in Serbia have been just under magnitude 6. The biggest earthquake of the 20th and 21st centuries hit in 1922. More recently, in 2010, there was a 5.4 magnitude quake felt. The buildings are sturdy, but the elevators aren't very reliable. Pressing the button can suddenly speed them up or stop them abruptly, which can be pretty uncomfortable. People in Serbia usually keep the exterior of these century-old buildings unchanged, but the apartments inside are often modernized. Renovations are done. Inside many apartments, you can see radiators, which suggests that some buildings are heated with natural gas or solid fuel. In the capital, monthly rent for old apartments near the city center starts at around €500. If you want to live close to the center in a new and luxurious apartment, rent can go up to €3,000 a month, which is quite expensive. Even in cities like New York, rent usually ranges between €4,000 to €5,000. So in Belgrade, a decent. If you want to rent an apartment, be ready to spend at least around €1,000 a month. Walking down a busy street in Belgrade, you'll spot sandwich stalls out in the open air. It's hard to tell how healthy the food is or what kind of meat they use without trying it yourself. Like in many other countries, Serbia also has some people who are homeless and in need of help. Although their numbers are smaller compared to many countries, you can still see them on the streets asking for money. Albania, North Macedonia, or compared to places like Kovshor, street vendors or people asking for money in Serbia usually cause less hassle. If you come here with someone special and want to create a memorable moment, you'll find old school photographers with vintage cameras in busy areas of Belgrade. They take your picture and print it right away on paper that looks like newspaper. Without setting a fixed price, they accept whatever amount you want to give. In just a few minutes, you'll have a simple yet nostalgic keepsake in your hands. Now, technically, even though it's summer, the weather in Serbia isn't very stable and can change quickly. Sometimes, strong winds can blow suddenly in the summer. That's why you'll occasionally see people wearing long-sleeve clothes. For example, someone might be wearing a jacket while taking photos. Others might wear a long-sleeve top with shorts. In the Republic Square in the capital, there's almost always some kind of music event or cultural program happening every day. So if you like festivals and live music, then Belgrade feels truly lively and full of energy. One evening, you might catch a traditional Serbian folk dance performance, and on another night, enjoy a live opera singer. The pigeons in Serbia are surprisingly friendly. It seems like they sense the kindness people show them, so instead of flying away when you get close, they actually come nearer. They're not afraid, they're just waiting for some food. In a way, this reflects how the locals treat animals with care and affection. They've grown used to kindness. In the evening crowd, it feels like everyone's showing off their talents or trying to make some money. Some are dancing, others are selling stuff in creative ways. Ice cream sellers, for example, often hire young people and dress them up in special outfits as part of a well-thought-out marketing strategy. The goal is to catch the eye of passers-by, especially the youth. If you want to get away from the evening hustle and enjoy the sunset, you can head to the riverbank areas of the capital. Sitting on a bench by the Sava River, munching on sunflower seeds and soaking in the view is a perfect way to unwind. Enjoying simple pleasures is easy for many locals. Riding a bike or jogging along the riverbank is popular, giving people a chance to stay active. The projects, shopping malls, and luxury cafes have popped up right along the river. Looking at the newly built or under construction buildings, you'll find that many have already been bought by wealthy investors from the US, Canada, and Arab countries. These ultra-luxurious residences are the best in Serbia. The area offers great views and is super attractive to foreign investors. Festivals are often held along the riverbank, where you can try local Serbian products. Nearby parks have special spots for seniors like chess tables. Right next to Granez Mihailova Street, there's a peaceful place where you can read a book, hang out with your partner, or watch the elderly play games. You can even play tennis inside the park or let the kids enjoy the playground equipment as night falls. To get the next part video, write in the video comment, know the next part, and subscribe to the channel. And stay with us. Thank you.